Bro, so if you've been watching me for a while, you know that bodybuilding is a really important thing to me, and really I want to make it a really more important part of this channel. And recently I just hit my weight goal of 170 pounds. Now, it might not sound like a lot, but to me it's a lot, you know what I mean? Like, I've been trying to hit this goal since like January of 2024, and right now at the time I'm recording it's like May 15th, 2025. So this goal is way overdue. So this is what like the physique is looking like. But pretty much, I'm gonna be telling you some of the main foods that I ate that kind of helped me gain a lot more muscle and weight along this journey. Now, let's get into that.
It's in my blood, I'm achievements. To hustle, I grew up with dealers. You got one shine left, that's the realest. I can't miss like female teachers. I took time out trying to elevate. I was so low level in anime. Champion like my belt is heavyweight. I'll bet on me any day. Shorty go, but the money come first place. She archway like a place near high gate. All the times I was juggling on cold days. Need my watch frozen like that, I say. I'm not social killers in my space. This coin ain't got an exchange rate. If I send this coin, Mayday. It's where season best make way. You know what it's like in the 7. Don't get caught out here after 7. Now the block going up 9/11. We went against all us like betting. New silent, keep them guessing. No wife, we kept on chefing.
Going to the gym around July 2022. And that's when I started going to the gym sort of like, I guess like regularly, like when I started training specifically for bodybuilding. The year before, I was in my senior year, I did have a systems class. I don't really count that, I don't know if I should, maybe I should keep it, but like I had the intention, I wanted to gain some sort of muscle, but it wasn't really nearly as much as it is like now, so I don't really count it. I mean, you know, if you want to count it, whatever, but personally I'm not really going to count it. But yeah, you know, I've always been active. Really only started training with the intention of bodybuilding and building muscle around this point, July 2022. And I went from around 140 something, 145 pounds, maxed out my beginner gains, and then plateaued at 160 pounds by the next year, around, let's say, like May of 2023. And that's when my physique kind of plateaued in terms of weight. Now, I haven't really been estimating, like, I got this, you know, I had this, like, scale, whatever, that I got, like, this year in 2024, or not this year, last year, 2024, like, around the fall, and it estimates, like, your muscle growth and, you know, all this, your body fat percentage, whatever. I didn't have that, but all I did know is that my weight stayed the same, and visually, like, to me, I looked pretty much similar, but people would tell me, oh yeah, you've made progress or whatever. I wouldn't really be able to tell, right? But along this journey, you know, I plateaued at around 160 and I wanted to make it to 170, but, you know, I wasn't really able to. And that was just because I was never really disciplined with my diet enough and whatever. I even had a bad period around like fall of 2024, so around like August, September, where I was actually weighing as much as like 150. Yeah, you know, it was really kind of like rough period or whatever, but you know, it is what it is. I just kept on going, and two of the foods that I really, you know, that I started to eat that really started to make a big difference that I noticed was ground beef and drinking a lot of whole milk. And this is actually going to play into this thing because I'm pretty soon, in a few weeks or like in the next month or two, I'm going to do a video where I'm going to try to eat the 3 different diets. They're going to be the diets of hunter-gatherers, pastoralists, and agriculturalists. I'm going to try each of the diet over a 3-week period, and then I'm going to see what the results, how I'm feeling after that, you know, what that's going to be. But in terms of specifically for gaining weight and, you know, muscle, I think eating lean ground beef really helps. It helps. Is one thing that I've seen help me gain weight pretty fast, and drinking a lot of whole milk, because it's just a lot of easy calories. Now, just a disclaimer, there are other things you want to keep in mind as well, but I think these 2 foods are pretty clean and pretty healthy sources of, you know, just like eating protein and, you know, things of that nature, right? And they're pretty healthy carbs. Way healthier than I think, you know, or not even, I said healthy carbs, healthy calories, right? I do think I think it's better than eating like a bunch of carbs or anything like that. And I think it's pretty much like something even just different to just like standard chicken and rice that most bodybuilders eat. And I think, you know, especially when I try that diet video, it's going to be a cool way of kind of seeing, especially because I'm going to be using a lot of African groups as references. So if you don't know what a pastoralist is, you know, people who herd cattle or like animals. Agriculturalists, you already know what that is, you know, you should. And then hunter-gatherers, again, like self-explanatory, right? But I think eating a milk and meat diet, I think does, you know, I've been debating this with like a friend, you know, because we were talking about like ethnic groups and what type of foods that they eat. And my ethnic group, you know, we eat a lot of, we eat some meat, we eat some, we have consumed milk obviously because we're, you know, we're pastoralists, but we also have a lot of fish, and we also eat a lot of carbs. And looking at the descriptions of the way like some of the earlier anthropologists or whatever described us, they said that we were like well built, and that's because our diet was really good. So I think incorporating things like that, fish, you know, I think a decent amount of carbs is also pretty good, right? You know, you have like the things like your macronutrients, right? And you gotta track them, but yeah. But I mean, again, like those two foods specifically, milk and ground beef, like whole milk, or even better, raw milk and ground beef, really good. You know, I think it really helps you increase the weight. Like that gave me the biggest difference, because I'd just be chugging a bunch of milk and then like eating ground beef, you know what I mean? It just gave me extra weight for some reason. But I mean, yeah, that's all I really have to say. If you found this video useful, hit the subscribe button and the like button, and join my Discord community, first link in the description. With that being said, peace, bro. Hey, just something I also wanted to note, because since this video is about like pastoralist diet, a month or two ago, I was having an argument with one of my friends, and we were talking about how pastoral my tribe actually is. And I had a conversation with my dad, long story short, and we were talking about the diet of people, you know, like the Dinka people, and explained how like the people in the cattle camp, so like the young men, the boys who would pretty much eat like a much more pastoralist diet, which was more meat and milk based, it gave them a lot more strength, because, you know, obviously it's like an aggressive culture. I remember explaining this to somebody. It's a much more aggressive culture where you're herding cattle, you're going on raids, and you're raising them, and you're with your boys, right? And there's also like a wrestling culture amongst the Dinka people, and my dad told me that when you live in the cattle camp and you sort of eat this way, you know, you can eat differently from the people who live in just like the regular village. So you're eating a lot more milk and meat. And he said that because of this, it makes you stronger, especially for, you know, helping you in sports like wrestling. So I think that's something kind of to, I guess, know, you know, because I've even heard like the Maasai, they have something similar where they're a lot more, you know, pastoralist in terms of like diet than we are, but they sort of see meat and milk as like not only like a noble diet, right? Like the Dinka, right? The Dinka, we think milk and whatever like that is like the most noble food, but they think that grain makes you weak. And I'm not saying it has to be true, but, you know, essentially like that's kind of the philosophy of a lot of pastoral groups, and I can definitely see the logic that they're coming from, you know. But yeah, I mean, I guess that's something I would keep in mind if I were you and I wanted to, you know, increase like my, you know, milk, meat, pastoral nomad type of diet. So yeah. That's what I'm looking like. Regular clothing. You know what I mean? Been doing a lot of bicep work. Been doing a lot of back work as well. I don't know if you can really see. It's probably you can because I got this shirt on, but just like, you know, I'm trying to spread my lat spread, you know? Just from the front. I think my physique looks pretty good. Now, what I'm gonna try to work on in the next few weeks, especially since I'm trying to build like a decent like modeling book, I want to lose a lot of body fat. So I'll probably do a few videos like this, kind of just updating on that. So with that being said, yeah, peace again.